find the defendant, Jessy R. Kurczewski, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. Signed by the foreperson, juror number 24, and dated today's date, the 14th of November, 2023.
Now, you just saw Wisconsin woman Jessy Kurczewski being found guilty of murder and theft. This is for allegedly poisoning her family friend, Lynn Hernan, with eye drops. The verdict was handed down back on November 14th, but most recently, the prosecution team received a letter that they believe the convicted murderer wrote in the letter that Kurczewski confides in a friend and has some odd requests for her. Now, Law&Crime has reached out to the jail for a comment from Kurczewski and has no response yet. But this letter was released days before the defendant's sentencing hearing, which is scheduled for tomorrow. So let's take a look at some of the key parts of the letter right now. Now, let me read this to you. I don't know, Jess. This is just insane to me. I sit here day in, day out, reliving and replaying everything. I cannot spend the rest of my life locked away for something I didn't do. This isn't right. I wish I had the jury name, so I want to reach out. I'm losing my mind about this. Continues, you should see just what I've uncovered in discovery since the trial ended, that they lied on the stand about. It's so wrong. So I talked with one of my attorneys about stuff in person, and I got a biggie for you, a biggie to ask of you. Even this envelope didn't go out through jail mail. My attorney took it. Next, we are trying to make a big stir to show just how wrong things are. First, you need to know I did not kill Lynn, nor did I assist, nor did I ever steal a dime from her, ever. And then on the 4th page, she continued an outline in a quote, and it says, directions. Yes, directions. Kurczewski allegedly says, do you remember hearing about the park, Whitehall Park, where I buried things? It was part of the gun, Visine bottles, notarized papers of hers, and a cassette tape, old school voice reading of Lynn. All confession stuff that I kept hidden. So here's what I'm trying to do. Recreate that stuff. I did what I could. I wrote up the letters, will, etc., and I signed all names, dates, etc. I need someone to look online for a notary stamp. Then you take the pages I wrote, copy them a few times, make a little lighter, and make it look good. Yes, I used to make documents for people. Sounds crazy, but true. I was good at it. Those bank ones were Lynn's doing. I didn't make those mistakes. All I need is 2 different names for notary, one on 1 page and the other one on 3 pages. These are real people who worked at her bank years ago who actually notarized papers on the set dates. And I have those other papers here with signatures, dates, and that's how I did this. I just need the notary and copies, please. Now, Joseph Scott Morgan, it sounds like she knows a great deal about notaries, or how notaries work. But does it sound like she has experience in creating documents and forging them? So, forensic investigator, you're with me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. When you begin to talk about lightning documents, that's one of the things that a seasoned handwriting expert, forensic document, an FDE, a forensic document examiner would look like. You know, you're talking about this kind of generational fading that goes on when you copy these things over and over again. I think that what she's alluding to is it gives it some kind of aged patina, maybe on one level to what they call masking handwriting, where you can kind of blur it to a great degree to give you the impression that it is official. You just assume that people are going to just take a cursory look at this thing and say, oh yeah, this is bona fide. But this is a post-trial issue here now. It sounds like she's dragging or attempting to drag her friend down the primrose path here to a lot of pain and suffering moving forward, because it at least sounds as though that she's attempting to get her friend to engage in some kind of criminal enterprise with her to deceive people.
A criminal enterprise with her, and since she was charged with forging documents earlier on, very interesting. So if you thought that request was risky, wait until you hear what Kurczewski asked for next. And I'm going to quote, "I need to see if someone would make a voice tape. I know this is crazy, but I got to try. It's worth it because it's my life. If I could, I would. They suspect my mom. That's why I can't have her. Nobody has her on voice recording. She has an older, raspy smoker's cough and was sick. Female voice, always coughing and smoking. I feel like there's programs online to change voices. There's so much technology these days. She was sick, and it did take 2 days before her death. Nobody's going to know if it's her or not. It's been 5 years. Honestly, you could even have a movie or music on it, the background, to help distract. She always had one on loud and loud. Now, what do you think? Hold on. Think about this, please. Now, the next part of this letter, Jessy writes a sample. She actually writes a sample of a letter she'd like her friend to help her write and hand over to Judge Doro. Yes, now I'm going to read it to you. And it's another quote. "I have watched this trial from the beginning. I never met this girl, Jessy Kurczewski, but what I can tell you is this story is crazy. Anybody who has a brain can tell you this girl didn't do that. And what those jurors didn't hear or what the judge didn't allow makes no sense. Lynn took her own life. How is that murder? This was a total setup if I ever saw one by a Waukesha County. After digging around for 3 days, I found her evidence and sent the tape cassette plus papers to the judge in this case, Judge Doro. Doro, the bottles of Visine, a piece of gun have no bearing, so I didn't include, but this girl is to be sentenced to life for a crime that never happened. What are you going to do about this?" And on the next page, Jessy lists out the people she wants that letter sent to, including Governor Evers, Attorney Donna Kukler, Attorney Pablo Galaviz, Attorney General Josh Call, the Waukesha DA's office, and several news stations. Doesn't end, because later on, Jessy writes out what she wants the tape recording to say, and I'm going to quote it for you exactly what's in the big letter, and we here at Law&Crime have it. "Jessy, I'm sorry to leave you like this, and I'm assuming you'll be the one to find me after all you have done for me, the times you saved my life. I know if it wasn't for you, I would have been dead months ago. You have been my rock. You're stronger than anyone I know." Now, after droning on a little more about how much Jessy meant to her, she wants the recording to have Lynn saying, "Jessy, stop listening to this tape and put it somewhere safe and hidden." She goes on to draft out a suicide video voice note and more instructions and letters that she wants notarized on different dates. The letters all make Jessy look innocent and like Lynn willingly handed over her money. She even went as far as to draft out the last will and testament of Lynn Hernan. Now, trial attorney Bob Hilla has been with me listening to all this as we take this deep dive into this post-trial letter. Bob, does this look like Jessy? Do you think this letter plays a role in the lawyers monitoring to withdraw?
Well, there's two things that we saw in those items. I mean, first was she's accusing the lawyers at one point, it seems, so that creates a conflict that they have to bow out. Clearly, this is a very elaborate scheme to try and defraud the court into believing that she was an innocent person that was wrongly convicted if this was ever carried out. It shows a person who's desperate and maybe even unbalanced. The lawyers can't commit a fraud on the court, and this being brought, it kind of knocks them out of the case, and certainly they'd want to be out of the case at this point because it's a no-win situation, especially because they're at least, if they're not accused of not carrying things out, they're at least implicated by having taken the letter from her. And, what happened, how it got to the court, they're really going to need to have somebody else represent her on this issue. It's the least of her problems because now she's been convicted of a murder. Right. But the court is going to have to look at this and decide what to do about it.
And unfortunately, I've been in a situation, not with the sentencing, but with a client who had lied to a court, and we, as lawyers, our team became unwittingly involved, and we had to file, just like these lawyers here, a motion under seal to a federal judge. We actually went in on a holiday, and he saw us ex parte, which means on our own. He read the under seal motion, and because we had allowed people to testify, not knowing, but we discovered afterwards that they had lied about something because we found a piece of evidence, the judge allowed us to be removed from the case, to voluntarily withdraw from the case, and for the client to obtain either new counsel or no counsel. And I expect tomorrow that if this judge feels that the continuation of the lawyers in the case will continue to involve any part of their ethics duties or violate their ethics duties, she will allow them out. She may, however, on the other hand, say, I understand, but I'm going to let you be with her for sentencing, but you can't vouch for her credibility if she allocutes or if she calls or if she wants to talk to us in any way, because or else I have to get new lawyers in. And maybe the judge will do that. My feeling is she will, because this is a very serious matter for the lawyers to be implicated or to allow a client to go on the stand in a sentencing phase in the future, say I'm not guilty, when they believe because of this new letter, she absolutely is guilty. So a lot to talk about tomorrow. We'll have our hands full on Law&Crime. You're going to have to stay with us then. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I believe Young Thug is back after their lunch. The jury's probably found it. Stay with us. I'm Linda Kenney Baden. This is Law&Crime.